Romans 8 verse 14. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. As said yesterday, always it still refers to nature, therefore, such a reward is the highest. When it comes to depth and breadth, why do I share it like this? Because I explain it this way, you can understand its principle. Instead of asking questions one by one, such as when questioning the mercy of the poor, to what extent must one be merciful and complain like this? Is that enough? Is this enough patience? Although some people's tolerance has reached its limit, but it is still a reluctance to insist. However, this is not from the heart. So, can this be called long-suffering? This should be called impatience. In the process of exercising perseverance, such people develop impatience. Think about it, what's the reward? It is impossible to argue with them because they often fail to care. If they understand the truth I share now, then, they will know how to care about themselves and know what not to think, or feel something. If you clearly want to practice long-term patience but you feel bored, it shows the real you, you must put this feeling to death. If you genuinely have the character of long-term patience, it's impossible to get bored in the process of caring about people. Since this has happened to you if you don't deal with it, not to mention about tenfold, hundredfold, and tens of millions of blessings, let alone depth and breadth. Indeed, we must possess every good quality, however, in modern times, many people know how to act and pretend. Just like on the internet, many internet celebrities are as fake as non-human beings. All appearances in the media will be processed through the beauty function first. They feel that they are the real themselves. Otherwise, they are not themselves. Even in this generation, makeup has been recognized as a general way of presenting yourself. What's even crazier is that plastic surgery has become a sharp weapon in many people's lives. It can be seen that people are used to presenting their true selves in a highly false and deceptive way. They are so driven by their interests that they cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. Now you know that true character is tested here, to verify whether you are impatient, or even only in the case of suffering from compromise, just pretend to be patient. But is this really patience? Is this the patience of character? No way. This is just a form of deception, because you actually use tricks in the exercise of perseverance, and yet, want God to reward you. In fact, when we understand the concepts of depth and breadth, from this angle, you should examine whether you are a new creation. Why does the Bible often speak of new creation? Undoubtedly, you are alone on the ground. But the eternal you are a new creation. Only then can you be qualified for eternal life. In other words, after you gain eternal life, the old parts that have yet to be abandoned will be destroyed and disappear without a trace. Those memories and personalities that once existed will no longer live. You will only remember and have a new personality you have. You know, we often feel conflicted in our hearts. As Paul said, although we want to do well in our hearts, we cannot do it. As I once said, as long as we live, and when we have this body, our character can be divided into will and intellect. This contradiction stems from our inability to put our wishes into action. We know how to do it, but we cannot implement it. Therefore, when we die, will and intellect will combine to form the true self. Remember, in eternity, there is only one true self, but there will be no distinction between will and intellect because this distinction only exists on earth. In other words, you are now accustomed to the struggles and contradictions in your heart. Does not exist in heaven. Even those negative thoughts, feelings of inferiority, or selfish desires that cause you to have conflicts, they will all be eliminated. However, if you are brilliant in this regard, if you are foolish in holiness, you will be a fool in heaven. Because you didn't practice what you know. Many people, even if they go to church, are very bewitched. Those who often make little tactics but do not practice the truth. They will become an idiot in heaven. This is why I describe it as a cognitive disorder. They apply all their cognition to stealing chicken, taking advantage to avoid laziness and comparison. Strive to practice the minimum truth to obtain the maximum benefit. This phenomenon is most likely to occur, especially when they hear the teaching of a hundredfold blessing. However, this cognition cannot lead to heaven, because it only makes people not try to make the most significant changes and walk in a holy and godly way. This cognition has become their most significant obstacle, delusion, and buffer. Just make them fail to truly walk in God's will. It is true that when a person dies, he will feel that something is missing. This is actually part of his struggle on the ground. It is also the part that helps him successfully deceive his faith. At this moment, you realize that, apart from not saying anything negative, not even thoughts, because your ego will only be focused on intellect rather than will. So, when he enters eternity, if your actual ideology, autonomy, etc., are only focused on intellect, when intellect disappears, you may become a vegetative person in heaven. Romans 8 verse 14. For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God.
Cast your cares on God, and He will sustain you, no matter what you're going through. When you're hurt and heavy laden, He patches up your wounds, so we may rise together renewed. Fly away into the waiting night. Draw me closer to the Lord tonight. Think of Him in all you do, and you shall find what's right. Rising from the ashes, like summer birds I will